No, folks, I'm not talking about the stuff that we all have to experience across the board because we're all subject to natural disasters, to various diseases because we've got mortal bodies, so none of us can save one another from death ultimately. And I'm not complaining about accidents that could befall any of us. But I'm complaining about the unnecessary stuff, the artificially induced problems that we have. And they're very serious. Okay, and back to the abortion issue for a moment. I mean, what's going on here is really, really bad. And, the people that are pro-abortion are a lot worse than just being pro-choice. I mean, pro-choice sounds so good, but in all honesty, even that argument falls flat in in light of real truth. And the real truth is that unless a woman was raped, she had the choice. She had the choice to lay down with the guy. And so really it's a second choice. And, it's sexist then in the sense that the man has no alternative second choice. For instance, the decision to abort or not to abort is not the man's anymore. It's all the woman's choice. So it's very biased. It's selective. And it's discriminating. So, the choice argument doesn't really work. But beyond that, we have to understand the financial interest and how every evil on the face of the earth really does come down to the love of money. I've got a nephew in Reno. I've got a neighbor just across the street from me. And both married couples, want to adopt children. And they are both having a really hard time and basically being rejected. And what I'm hearing is that it's not in the interest of these basically, what's the modern day orphanage, but these child care facilities, for the unwanted children. I don't know, foster. This is now it's more in the interest of the state. It's like a prison, or like a school where they need the head count, they need the pupils in order to get the funding. A beautiful eagle flying by. God, that's a majestic sight. But, this is what it all comes down to, the money. They've got us all just totally tricked. And most people say, that couldn't be. The system's got to make sense. I mean, it's been developing for a really long time, our civilization. This has got to make sense. But it really doesn't make sense. And I hope you got to see that eagle in the screen there. But no, it doesn't, folks. It really doesn't. When you examine it, you put the whole entire establishment, the system under a microscope, you see that it's fraud up one side, down the other, and to the nth degree. It's a charade, nothing more than a charade. It's just a whimsical invention, a conjuring up by sorcerers. That's it, and we're all living under this, and it's ridiculous. And, if you want to be in reality, you got to step out of this one. You got to step out of this and say, oh man, you know what? This whole thing is destined to destruction. It's got to. It's got to, folks. And we've got to really just understand. And I feel like, this is why I make these videos, because I don't hear people talking exactly like I talk. They don't seem to have stumbled upon the same truths that I have. But I know over and over I'm saying the same thing about money over and over and over and again. Because if you really want solutions, that's it. Think of all the people out there doing these jobs that wouldn't be necessary if we weren't living under this fantasy, this invention of a reality, this pseudo reality that we're living under. We wouldn't need it. We wouldn't need those jobs. So if we turned our energies and our attention to other arenas, then we could be far more productive. We could say, hey, you know what? We've set up these factories and now we're having this machinery, this equipment do the work that it used to take all these people to do. And now it's really easy, like a farmer with a giant combine out there plowing his field. I mean, it used to take, 100 men to do what he's doing in 1 hour with the machinery. So what's bad about this? What's wrong with this picture? It doesn't have to be what we say, it takes our jobs. Okay, well, do you understand how that is, that is evidence when you believe that way that you've been screwed in the head? okay, that you're thinking. You've been psyched out by the system and these people that are running roughshod over us. That's evidence right there, because it shouldn't be that way. I mean, what are we supposed to do? There's not enough work. Are we supposed to beat our breasts, bang our head against the wall? I mean, the fact that we just have to have a realistic work week. That's it. We have to have sound currency. We have to have full universal prosperity. That's it, folks. The system, prove to me the system can't work. Okay, prove it. Prove it. Okay, the people running our lives won't give us any appreciable amount of time so that can be proved. Do you understand? They don't want it to be proved that true capitalism is supply and demand capitalism, is free market capitalism, and it leads to universal prosperity. This is why they can't give you any appreciable time, because then you'd recognize exactly what facets, what components were required to not only attain sound currency, but to maintain it. Okay, because if you did, you'd never let it go. You'd say, oh, you'd protect it so vigilantly. You'd say, oh, no. You'd watch it like a hawk. And you'd say, no way, man, we're not letting that go ever again, because we see what's happened here. We see we didn't all turn into decadent slobs because being prosperous was no big deal anymore. That's why probably so many people like, what was it, Victor Hugo, that said, prosperity breeds monsters and adversity makes men. And who was it? King Solomon said something similar with this idea that, wealth, riches are a snare to the soul sort of thinking. And these things are true. But it's because, you're an enigma. You become an anomaly when you become rich, because, most people are not rich. Most people are on the commoner side, right? Because this conjured up reality that we're all living under. They're not commoners because that's just the way it has to be. They're commoners and paupers and the oppressed because they have been selected to be, because these people have deemed this a good thing to maintain control by chaos through high crime and poverty and through dubious war and debt. You understand what they do and how they do it, what they've done to us? When we understand these fundamental things, we understand a lot. We have a lot of power. We're not in Babylon. We're empowered with true knowledge, true wisdom. And we really are God's servant at that point. And we can go out and speak boldly, truth to power, and to anybody else that will listen and convey and impart these truths to others, so that we can move together as one and say, we're coming out of this thing. We're coming out of bondage. We're going to be free someday. God's will, make no mistake, is going to be accomplished on earth. And it's coming soon. It's all going to hit the fan. It's going to hit the wall. Okay? That's it. The worm's going to turn. The tide is going to turn. And everything's going to change. And the evil are going down. They're going down to hell. They are already prepared in a very literal way with these underground caverns they have built with their luxury condos. Who even cares what they've got under there? They're going to be so stinking miserable. I mean, how's it going to be? Who are they going to have down there? They're going to have some machines? What do they got? Some alien demons or something to serve them? Who's going to serve these people? They're deluded and they're mistaken. And that's why, we're to hold our hand out to even these people, these, great enemies of humanity, these murderous gaggle of thugs. Believe it or not, we're supposed to speak truth to them, and we've got to rebuke them, but we've got to still hold our hand out, because we're still servants of God, we're commanded to love our enemy. So we've got to imitate God by so doing, holding your hand out to the bitter end in whatever way you can. That's great power. That's very freeing to the soul when you know in your heart of hearts you are a friend to all humanity. Then you're a friend to God. Your heart is pure. You shall see good. You shall see God if you do those things. And so the main thing is that violence is not the answer. So I do not condone a violent takeover, a violent coup. I condone a very forceful, determined coup, a money printing coup, which is a retaking of the money printing privileges, let's say, and give those to the people to decide. Okay, to say, do we want sound currency? Are we willing to give universal prosperity a try in this country and get off the junk? Because at the end of the day, folks, that's where it all leads. You see, you use things like sound currency and capitalism as a means to the end. But what is the real end? The end means to be free, completely free. When everybody's got so much money, so much currency, and they don't need it anymore. Nobody's taking it. Nobody wants it. They're trading freely. So when you want a new automobile, you turn one in and you bring in the central warehouses, nobody to answer to, nobody to be beholden to. It's this guy's job to do that and her job to do this and his job to do that and the next thing. We just do it. Those jobs are open to anybody. You do whatever job you want whenever you want. You live wherever you want. You serve whoever you want. You serve however you want, whenever you want. And you're not beholden to anybody except your own conscience. You know, that dictates that instinctive sense of you know, wanting to be worthy and valuable, an asset to humanity. To not want to be a self-serving pissant, okay? That makes you, that will drive us. Test it. It's never been tested. It's never been tried, but that's what's coming, and we need to prepare ourselves for what is coming, because God's going to put an end to this thing. I mean, when Jesus does return, and it's going to be like a thief in the night, in the sense that it's going to be, a lot of people are going to get caught with their pants down. We don't need to wait for that. He doesn't want us to get caught with our pants down. He's trying to be gentle but firm, because he's going to reach a point, a boiling point, when he's took all he can take and he can't take no more. And he's going to mete out justice on the earth. It's the day of reckoning, the great and terrible day of the Lord, the day of judgment. All these things, it's all these things wrapped into one. But it's at that point when these holy angels are doing the work of the harvesters of the souls of man. They're God's servants. They're different creatures, different beings, used for a different purpose. They're imperishable. So all the weaponry of man can't do anything to stop these people, although they would love to stop it. They all know this stuff. You know, it reminds me of the book of Job. These people have like an inside track because they're Satanists. They conjure up these demons and devils, and you know, even if it's happening on an ethereal level, a lot of this stuff. This is why it's called the spirit of the air. It's just there. I mean, who knows why I feel hated by, you know, these evil people, but I know I am. I know I am, because Jesus was hated. Look what they did to him. Look, just for speaking truth to power, look where it got him. So we know these people's mindset. They know they would like to crush anybody that would dare cross them with a word that stung their ears in any way. They would kill you, execute you, boom. They just want, you know, mindless automatons serving them. Okay, don't question me. Just let me be the elitist hypocrite I am. Let me run roughshod over you, create the policies you have to live under, create all the laws and lack of laws, all the rules and regulations and lack of those things. Okay, just let me keep doing what I'm doing, because I'm a psychopath. I'm dangerous. I will murder you. I will imprison you. I will take all your stuff. I'll take your freedom. I'll take your security. You know, so you should fear me, which, you know, is their perverted way of extracting reverence from us. Understand that. They've got us in a state of fear. Do you think they'd be able to extract the exorbitant cost of housing that they're doing here in California if people weren't living in fear? If people were saying, oh my God, you better go out, and I don't care if you got to take 2, 3, 4 jobs. It doesn't matter that, you know, there's all this unemployment out there, because, you know, you got to pay your rent. You got to pay the bankers. You got to pay this mortgage. You were a liar. You lied on this loan and said you could afford this, and now your adjustable rate mortgage, your variable rate mortgage is kicked in, and now you're, you know, we're charging you more. Your burden's going up. You're going to lose your house, and who do they lose it to? They lose it to the thieves. The same banking class, the money printing class that draws up the fine print. This is their sorcery, evidence of their trickery, their sorcery, their fine print, and they steal your home this way, and then they call that legal. Well, it's in the contract, you know, when we have attorneys and, you know, we get all this stuff. I mean, you understand how these people need us in fear. And, you know, back to this abortion rally again for a minute. But I see a lot of fear in these people, all of them, on both sides of the aisle. I see a lot of fear in these people that, you know, that hate abortion. They think it's a crime against humanity. It's a sin. It's a crime against God. And they're absolutely right. They're absolutely right. And they're right to be frustrated, because you see, frustration breeds anger. Okay, that's what it does. When you feel cornered, You feel angry. You want to lash out. You've got to lash out. You've got to speak out. This is why the First Amendment is so important. That it prevents a lot of violence because it gives people a way to vent their frustrations and sting the ears of the unrighteous, those that are not upright, that want to live outside the bounds of common decency and the golden rule of treating others the way you want to be treated and not treating them in ways you don't want to.